Hi there, this is Michael Becker, and in this Tinderbox lesson, we're going to take a look at how I'm handling dates for projects and milestones and initiatives. In other words, what I'm doing is I'm pulling the children and descendant dates to be able to automatically populate the dates for projects. And I wanted to explain that code and my logic behind it. So let's go ahead and take a look. So you'll see here I've got the daily journal project file up and open, and we're going to go ahead and create a new project. So I hit enter and we hit project. I'll say testing the dates. And in the next video, I'll explain the colors. So we're going to ignore that for now. And you'll see here I can go ahead and set a date. So let's say this project starts now and it's going to end on 3/1/21. Okay, so the project has these dates. Now let's go ahead and add a milestone. We'll say milestone work on testing the dates is the milestone, and we're going to tab in and we'll make this a milestone. Okay, so now you're going to see that this milestone has no dates. And so because this project now has a child, the dates are going to get reset because I want the project set by the earliest and the latest dates that happen to be from its descendants or children. So in this case, let's say the milestone is now, and it's going to end on 3/1/21. Okay, so now when we do that, you'll see the dates all the way roll up to the project, and the milestone has its dates. Now let's add another item. Let's call this item a task, and task for testing the dates. Okay, and we'll make that a task. Now, guess what's going to happen? So the task has no dates. So when I enter this in, the milestone is going to get reset because it now has no dates, and therefore then the project is going to get reset. Given the current logic, we can always play with this later. So now let's say this task is due on 2/1, its start date is now, and its end date is going to be 3/1/21. And so what you're now going to see is the task needs to be done on these time frames. So therefore, the milestone needs to be done on these time frames, and therefore the complete project needs to be done on these time frames. Let's say for this milestone, though, we want to go in and add another task, task number 2. And this task number 2 is actually going to have a different set of dates. So let's say task number 2 is now going to be set for 2/15/21. But we're not going to get this one done till 4/3/21. So in which case, I can roll up and I can now see that the milestone date has now changed to 4/3/21, and the project has now changed to 4/3/21. And now later I can go ahead and drop in other notes in here like meeting, etc. A test meeting. And let's go ahead and leave these dates to, just for the sake of argument, we'll leave this dates to never. And you'll see it pops in here now. I've got a meeting. Its dates happen to be never right now. You'll see nothing in the project has changed. And then if I were to go ahead and say this meeting happened on 2/10/21 and it ended on 2/10/21, you'll see that the overall project dates didn't change at all, which is expected because that meeting happened within those bounds. So how is all of this working? Let me go ahead and hit Command 1, open up the inspector. All of these dates are calculated from the rule. I'm going to copy the code and go over to BB Edit and hit paste. So here's the rule, the code that's being used for this calculation. And I'm going to go ahead and break it down and just focus right here on this little bit right here. This is the code that's driving this date logic for projects. So what I'm saying is if the children is greater than 0, so if there is more than one child, aka children and or descendants for a project, then I want you to collect the dates from those children or descendants. And so essentially I want you to set the start date and the due date from the children and its descendants. And so again, let me walk you through the code now. So I'm saying collect if. So the collect if command says go grab either children or descendants and evaluate the start date. And so I'm saying go look at all the children or descendants, in this case the descendants, and grab all of the notes whose due date does not equal never, meaning it has a value. And then grab the start date for that item. And then I do one extra thing here. I say dot minimum. This is a dot operator that adds one more condition to this analysis that says Once you grab those dates for the start date, give me the earliest one, and make that aka dot minimum, and then make that the start date. And then I'm saying for due date, do the same operation. Collect all the notes if the due date does not equal never, and then grab the due date, but this time the latest one, that aka dot max, and now make that the due date. And that's the logic, and that's all it takes to be able to pull that Descendants up and down. And just so you know a little bit more about collect if, I could have it return any value. It doesn't have to be returning start date and end date just because I'm doing the analysis of it. It could return a value from any attribute if this condition is met. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Now, similarly, when you look at, say, the milestones, I've used a similar logic here, but in this case, what I'm doing, let me go ahead and copy the code. We'll come back to BB Edit. We'll hit new text file so you can see that. And then you'll see here for the milestone project, I'm saying if the prototype equals milestone and the children count is greater, then do that date calculation. And again, the reason why I'm adding this condition here, if the prototype is that case, because I don't want every file throughout the Tinderbox file to be doing this data analysis, because there's no need to put that kind of overhead on Tinderbox. So as long as this condition's met, I want it to test the dates. Otherwise, I just wanted to skip over that intended process. So there you go. That's how I am calculating the dates for projects and milestones and initiatives within the Tinderbox file and for the Daily Journal project. So hopefully that helps explain that particular piece of function that is integrated into the solution. By the way, if you come up with a more elegant way of doing this, there are many, many ways to handle this in Tinderbox. This is the way that I found that was the most optimal way of doing it, because it was the least amount of steps and processing needed for Tinderbox to be able to get those two values that I was looking for. But if you have another or alternative approach that you've come up to, I would love to hear it. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions for me, as always, please reach out. Thank you very much.